Hello and welcome to Ripley's Aquarium of Canada. We are doing special programming for our March break this week, so you can see live feedings of a few of our animals. Today we are looking at the lionfish and their friends, so we're very excited to see them. Before we get started on that, I'm going to share our land acknowledgement with everyone else so that we can have a chance to learn where our aquarium is. Ripley's Aquarium of Canada acknowledges that we are on the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Today, the meeting place is Toronto, also known as Tuckeranto, meaning the place in the water where the trees are standing, is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to work on this land. So I'm very excited to welcome you to our feeding of the lionfish. I don't get to do this alone. My friend Angie is with the lionfish right now, ready to share all about them. So hello, Angie, and welcome to the lionfish.
Hello, Danielle. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to our venom habitat. In this habitat, we have two species from the Scorpionfish family. The first one that we have is this one lying at the bottom here. These are our spotted scorpionfish. As you can see, they blend in pretty well with the ground below, so they are masters of camouflage. The main thing that keeps these scorpionfish and lionfish in the same family is their venomous spines. So the scorpionfish ones are at their top there, and this here is our red lionfish. You can tell these ones from their red and white stripes, so hence the name lionfish kind of comes from the way their fins spread out just like a lion's mane. Today we are going to do a feeding for these two animals. So we have one of our Aquarius Kai here who's going to be helping us feed. Lionfish and scorpionfish are carnivores, so they feed mostly on crustaceans and fish. Today they are being fed capelin. So our lionfish and scorpionfish are fed about 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. They are fed sometimes with a stick that goes in the water so that these animals can be fed, but sometimes they are fed through broadcasts, which means putting the food in the water and waiting for them to get it. As you can see, they are pretty great predators. So the scorpionfish at the bottom, they lie and wait, and they're ambush predators. The lionfish, on the other hand, they chase after their prey to get it. So you can see here, they suction the food into their mouth like a vacuum. A lot of times they use their fins that are around their face, just like that, to herd their prey into different areas, so it's a lot easier for them to get it. Sometimes lionfish also shoot jet propulsions of water to scare their prey, and then they can use their vacuum to get the fish into their mouth. Here we can see some of the pieces of food that the lionfish are trying to get. There's some on the stick here, so this is one way that we can feed our lionfish in this habitat. Oh, as you can see, our scorpionfish, you didn't even see it coming, so they lie and wait and then ambush their predators. Scorpionfish are found in tropical and temperate parts of the world, whereas our lionfish are found in tropical areas. They are native to the Indo-Pacific region, but now they are found in other parts of the world. They are considered an invasive species in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and in the Atlantic. So originally, lionfish were found in the Indo-Pacific region, but they were first spotted in Florida in around the 1980s. Danielle's going to help us out by showing a map of how these fish were able to spread so much. As you can see here, the years are increasing. So originally they were spotted in Florida, but their range continued to expand north and south. So you can see how much more they're ending up in the Gulf of Mexico, Bermuda, and the Atlantic Ocean, as well as in the Caribbean Sea. So an invasive species has a couple meanings. The first one is that an invasive species is non-native. So as we said earlier, they were originally found in the Indo-Pacific region, which is not anywhere near Florida or the Caribbean. The second part that makes up an invasive species is that they are harmful to their ecosystem. So this can be that they are directly causing harm to animals. It can be that they eat the food of the native animals in the ecosystem, or it can be that they outcompete different animals there. Lionfish, unfortunately, are able to do all three. So they are generalists for food, so it means they eat a wide variety. Lionfish have been known to eat up to 20 fish in 30 minutes. So they are able to eat large numbers, including expanding their stomach to be able to get lots of food in. Lionfish also have no native predators in the Caribbean area, and they are able to outcompete native species such as the Nassau grouper, whose populations have been really impacted by the lionfish invasion. You might be wondering how lionfish were first introduced into Florida. So it is thought that they were introduced from the aquarium trade. As you can see, lionfish are really, really beautiful. So a lot of people do want to keep them as pets. But because they can eat so many different things, some aquarium owners don't want to keep them any longer. When this happens, they could be accidentally or on purpose introduced into an ecosystem, such as in Florida, and that's really how people thought that they were originally introduced there. Lionfish have incredibly high breeding rates, so females are able to lay about 2 million eggs per year, and that's another reason for their success in the Caribbean. Combating lionfish in the Caribbean is no easy feat. It is one of the ways that these areas try to kind of keep those populations in check. So local dive shops, conservation organizations, and governments all work together to try to keep the populations in check. Some of the ways to do that is through organized removal. So dive shops or conservation organizations will hold derbies where people go out and try to capture lionfish. A lot of times there are prizes for people who catch the largest lionfish, the smallest lionfish, the lionfish with the most interesting stomach contents, for example. Another way is through harvesting. So to do this, there's some incentives sometimes for fishermen to catch lionfish for about the same price that they would other species like the Nassau grouper. This way, fishermen have a reason to capture lionfish, and they can bring them to restaurants where they can prepare them, or jewelry can be made out of the fins at the back and the sides. Another way to combat the invasion of lionfish in the Caribbean is through education. So this is a really great way to prevent the spread and just make people more aware of the problem in general. Invasive species aren't just found in the Caribbean or through lionfish. There are invasive species in Lake Ontario as well. So one of them is sea lampreys. Sea lampreys were thought to be first introduced via shipping canals in around the 20th century. They have a really big impact on fisheries as well as Aboriginal fisheries. This is a picture of a sea lamprey, so as you can see, they can cause a lot of harm to different fish directly. And they were found in saltwater, and now they have fully adapted to freshwater. Another invasive species in Lake Ontario are zebra mussels. So these ones were native to the Black Sea, and it was thought that they were brought in through ballast water in about the 1980s. Ballast water is when ships take on water to stabilize themselves to cross the ocean, and then when they get to their new destination, they release the water. This is the way that zebra mussel larvae was introduced, and now it is pretty widespread. Zebra mussels can have a really big impact on power plants, water purification facilities, and ships because they latch onto these things and cause really big issues with fouling. The best way that we can help control invasive species in the Caribbean, for example, as well as in our home in Lake Ontario, is through control. So removing these populations can be really time-consuming and really expensive, but it is one of our best ways when a species is already introduced. Obviously, we would prefer not to introduce these species, so prevention can be the #1 way that we can help to control these species. So, for example, we can have laws to ban the import of different species. So this could mean not bringing coral across different borders or not bringing firewood to different places as well, crossing into areas where the species is not actually present. Cleaning gear is another really big thing. So you might have seen different lakes asking boaters and fishermen to clean their gear before they use them. And this is a really great way to make sure that species aren't spread from one area to another. Again, education is one of the best ways. So just like today, how we're telling you all about invasive species, it can be a really great way to spread awareness and prevent the spread to different areas. So thank you so much for learning all about invasive species in lionfish. We're going to turn it over to Danielle for some questions now.
Oh, thank you so much, Angie, for showing us that, and for Kai. We have some questions. Our first one is, we'll show it on the screen. What is the difference between venom and poison?
That is a really great question. So I mentioned earlier that this habitat is called venom and that these species do have venomous spines. So the venomous spines on the scorpionfish are along the back, and for the lionfish, they're along the top and some on the side. So venom, just like in lionfish as well as in snakes, is injected, whereas poison is something that is ingested or absorbed. So if you were to swallow something, that would be something that's poisonous, for example. Here, we do take precautions to protect our aquarius. So in the building, we have 3 venom kits that are able to help if anything were to happen to our aquarius. So these contain a heat pack to be able to break down the venom protein, as well as a meat tenderizer to break it down. And it also has a first aid kit. Our aquarists also wear gloves if they are interacting with these animals to further protect themselves from the venom.
All right, our next question is, can lionfish hurt you?
Yes, lionfish can definitely hurt you. So those venomous spines can be a really big problem. There are ways, like the heat packs, for example, to break down the protein so that it doesn't cause further damage, but they can definitely be a harmful species.
Our next question is, are lionfish edible? Can you eat these fish?
Yes, lionfish can be eaten in several different ways. So it can be eaten raw, like in a ceviche form, or battered. Like we said earlier, lionfish are venomous and they can hurt you. So one of the main things to keep in mind is the preparation methods of removing those venomous spines really, really carefully before continuing to prepare the food.
So one of the things we've noticed is that on the lionfish, there are fleshy bits near their mouth. What are those fleshy bits by the lionfish mouth used for?
That is a great question. So we'll look a little bit more closely over here at the fleshy bits. So you can see they're all around the mouth. So this acts as a lure for different species of prey to be able to be attracted to the lionfish mouth before they eat them.
Perfect. All right, our next and final question is, can you tell the difference between all the different lionfish in that habitat?
I cannot personally tell the lionfish apart, but our aquarist Kai can definitely tell them apart. He knows each individual and they all have different names. So it's really impressive that he's able to do that.
Wow, thank you so much, Angie. We thank all of you for coming to join us here for our lionfish feed at the aquarium. And we are very excited to showcase so many more feeds with all of you and to also share with you all of the fun stuff that we have at the aquarium. So I'm just going to share all of our ways that you can contact the aquarium if this sort of stuff interests you, or if you have any questions or you want to share how much you love this. We would love to hear what you have to say, and you can share it to us in any of these links here. And we love seeing the lionfish eat here at the aquarium and so many more. If you want to visit and learn more about what we are doing here for March break, you can see another live feeding all week during March break, and tomorrow's will be our invertebrates, which we will be doing a cool interactive thing with our new touch habitat. So we're very excited to showcase some of the newer animals that we have here at the aquarium. So we're just going to give a goodbye to the animals in the lionfish and venom habitat, and a goodbye to Angie and Kai, and Thank you so much for sharing and learning with us today. All right, let's give a big wave. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends. Thank you so much.